snow that we are anticipating is going to start falling late, or I guess very early Saturday morning, right? Start around 1, 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. We're anticipating that it's really going to pick up a little bit later in the morning, 7, 8 a.m. People should stay off the roads because we're going to see potentially blizzard-like conditions, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts of wind. So in addition to keeping an eye on clearing the snow from the streets and for residents to make sure that they're clearing the snow from the sidewalks, we're keeping a close eye on the winds because we don't want a lot of power outages around the city. Especially at wintertime, that can create a lot of challenges because people's oftentimes, or most of the time, their heat is connected to their power. EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, is going to be opening starting at 6 a.m. Saturday morning. I'm going to give the phone number for residents if they have issues to call. That is 203-946-8221, 203-946-8221. Parks and Public Works is ready with trucks. We're going to have 50 trucks around the city. That's a combination of the larger snow clearance vehicles, the pickup trucks, and our outside contractors clearing snow throughout the storm. There's going to be a citywide parking ban that is going to go into effect at 10 a.m. Sandeep is going to cover that. One thing is 10 p.m., thank you, 10 p.m. Tonight. 10 p.m. tonight. One thing that's important to underscore, because this is the first time this year that we have done that for this year, the last storm that we had was just downtown and posted snow routes. This one is citywide. And so in addition to no parking downtown and in posted snow routes, it is also residential streets. You're not supposed to park on the odd side. Don't be the odd person out, right? It's very important that we get that information out to the public. The blue lights will be going on downtown to notify people. We'll be sending out social media and a robocall about this, but we're asking for the press's help to get that information out because we really don't want to tow people. We don't want to ticket people. If we have to, we will, because we got to get our streets cleaned. Sandeep is going to go over in a little bit more detail where people can park if they need that, if they don't have a driver and they need to park off the street. Individuals experiencing homelessness, our outreach team has been going out in anticipation of this storm for the past few days to places where people typically have encampments, getting people into hotels. We are also opening, in partnership with DES, Downtown Eating Soup Kitchen, a warming center that people can go to at 266 State Street. If there's an issue there with overflow, we have another site that we may open up. But we're encouraging people that have no other place to go, that don't have a home, if they need to get warm, to go to the Downtown Evening Soup Kitchen warming shelter at 266 State Street. Libraries will be closed. On Saturday, the transfer station will be closed. The vaccine and testing sites will be closed for the weekend. And the only other thing I wanted to underscore that always comes up in these storms, particularly the big storms, is it takes us a lot of time to clear the snow. We want to clear the major arteries first. Our priority is that emergency vehicles can get to people's homes. We come back to focus on smaller streets, residential areas. We come back again to push back the snow. But there are many, many, many roads in the city, and we ask residents to be patient. I know it's really difficult. I get very frequent complaints during snows that my street's the only street that hasn't been plowed, and I get those complaints at the same time from all around the city. It's not possible that your street is the only street that hasn't been plowed, because I get that complaint everywhere. We do our best to cover as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Our teams are going to be working round the clock. I always bring coffee and donuts to the team, and I just am very impressed by so many city employees that are working very hard to keep the streets clean. Clear your sidewalks. It is the property owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalks. A Livable Cities initiative will be out after the snow falls to make sure that people's sidewalks are cleared, and if necessary, to issue citations. Please clear it enough so that someone in a wheelchair can get by. And please be patient and stay off the roads during the storm, because we want to focus on clearing the storm. We don't want to focus on pulling people out of the snow, and we definitely don't want people to get hurt. So with that, maybe I'll hand it over first to Rick Fontana to give a couple of updates as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. As you know, we've been planning for the last couple of days this storm. This is going to be a big storm, major event for the city of New Haven. It's going to take some time to clear up. Out of an abundance of caution, we are asking people to stay off the road tomorrow morning, beginning 8 a.m. and ending around 2 or 3 when the snow is at its heaviest, being driven by 35 to 50 mile an hour winds. We expect there to be some dangerous driving conditions. And I think the important thing that we're going to say is, please don't drive unless you really have to. If you're an essential employee, or if you're going to bring your wife to the hospital because she's having a baby. It's important that we keep people off the road. Another thing, ensure that those vents that you may have at your home for a dryer, a gas dryer, or a gas water heater, or a gas furnace. Some of the newer ones come through the side of the house. We expect blowing, drifting snow. If those get blocked up, let's not become a statistic. Let's make sure that there's no CO in your home by clearing that snow away. These are really important things to think about. If you have to travel tomorrow, only do it under really, extreme cautiousness. With everything, if you're stranded in your car, we're going to have a hard time getting to you under those conditions. So again, our goal is going to be to keep the streets open, keep them as safe as possible. But again, over 800 streets with 50 vehicles takes some time to get done. The mayor said this could take 2, 3, 4 days to get cleaned up. So bear with us. This is all hands on. The Emergency Operations Center will be fully activated. And for those individuals, I know that the number's been mentioned, 203-946-8221. And again, patience, and we've got all of our hands on it. We just need folks to pay attention to the parking ban and also staying off the road. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to the CAO, Regina Rushkittle, on public safety.
Thank you, Rick. So I'll give you an update on our public safety. With our staffing levels, we're going to make sure that the police department is fully staffed, and we have police department staff that are going to be working in the Emergency Operations Center. Some of the days off for the officers have been canceled so that we ensure that those shifts are covered. We're making sure that the police department is in compliance with the parking ban, so all of the vehicles are going to be moved to a location so that we can get those streets around the police department cleared. We have staff that have potentially issues getting in during this weather, so the police department is prepared with the Bearcat to assist with transports. They may end up transporting some of their staff in if they can't get in, so they can cover for their shifts. And they also, we're going to try to get, if necessary, we'll get our communications center personnel also transported in to cover those shifts. As far as the fire department, we have additional staffing on to cover the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. We also have additional mechanics on duty to cover, and in case anything goes along with the buildings, we have upstaffed that area too. And some of the fire apparatus has been strategically placed around the city to respond. The crews have chains on the fire apparatus, and then we're prepared to put on the heavy duty chains as needed if the accumulation is more than 6 inches. Sand and salt has been uploaded to all of the firehouses and on the apparatus, and the crews on the fire department are prepared to help the utility crews if needed when they come into the city. As far as our Public Safety Communications Center, we're having additional staffing, staffing up by at least 1 staff member additional on each shift. We will also be have staff at the Emergency Operations Center, and as I said before, the PD has said that they will assist trying to get staffing in if necessary there, and we have some staff that are prepared to hunker down and sleep on cots if it's necessary to cover all of the shifts that we need to cover. And previously, if this storm had come earlier, when COVID was Omicron, it caused some staffing concerns with our public safety. That is not an issue right now. The numbers are so much better. We only have 6 officers out positive for COVID. On the fire department, we only have 1, and for our public safety communications, we only have 1. And Parks and Public Works, we only have 2. So we're well covered in the city. And I'll now turn it over to Sandeep. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So just to recap, the parking ban starts at 10 p.m. tonight. And so we have enough crew on the resource side. We have enough crew from parking, and we're using additional staff from the meter team, meter crew to support our parking staff. And we also have the police department also supporting us in terms of, ticketing and towing operations. So, and as the mayor mentioned, we are going to start with the arterials and sort of slowly go into the narrow streets and the local streets, and then move our way into downtown. And as the snow gets heavier and heavier, we'll probably do a lot more downtown, ticketing and towing enforcement. The blue light start, will also be operational, so that people know that there's a parking ban in place. And also we'll be using our TTP Twitter account to also pass on all the information that's required. So we'll be coordinating with the city staff on that.
Sandeep, could you talk about where people can park?
Oh yeah, so I don't have the full list with me, but we have 3 different categories of parking. So there's the Yale lots, and there's a New Haven Parking Authority lots, garages and lot, and we also have the school lots available for alternate parking for residents. I think that's all I have.
Anyone else have anything important to add? Any questions?
Can I just a clarification for the plow drivers, that there's only 2 folks out with COVID. Can you just talk about plow drivers? Was that mentioned under Public Works, folks with COVID?
Right.
It's only 2 folks.
Only 2.
You want to cover
Okay.
it?
Sure.
Yeah, I guess my question is just, are you guys okay? Just to kind of.
We're fine. Our staff is through the help from downtown and the other departments has been great, and our staff has been following the protocol throughout the COVID time period. So we're fully staffed. We utilize our refuse division. So luckily this is a weekend storm. Our refuse division is included in our rotation. We're going to be running 12-hour shifts throughout the storm. So tomorrow during the pushback mode, and then through the operation going into Sunday and next week for the removal. So there's 2 different phases, but we're fully staffed.
For people who are watching, the refuse, what's that mode that you just talked about?
They're just another division of the Department of Parks and Public Works. Their assignments collecting the recycling and refuse completed for the day, but they know to get rested. They will be back tonight, or tomorrow actually, and they will be filling in a shift tomorrow behind the trucks that we see in the yard here, doing what we do best.
How many routes do you guys have here in the city?
We have a number of routes, but we have 22 major routes that we've had historically. But again, over the years we have arterial routes that the mayor talked about, major focus. So we want to keep those routes open for emergency vehicles. We also utilize the Parks Department vehicles into some of those tighter streets that the big trucks can't get down. So we have those, we call them narrow routes, dead end routes. And so we have probably, I would say, about 35, 40 routes in total.
How many miles of roadway?
200, I think they just upped it. It's about, I always use 234, but I think we picked up a couple extra miles over the last few years.
How is that?
I know it, in the city of New Haven, right.
What about, is tide also something that this is something that not all Connecticut towns and residents think about?
Yeah, I don't want to speak on behalf of our city engineer, but I've been included in some of the meetings with Giovanni's in, and again, I think there's a concern of some tidal wave action minor to the city of New Haven, and Rick might be able to answer that as well. it's not a concern that we would have with the precipitation being snow versus a rain event.
I think this is maybe a question for Rick. A lot of people, are obviously sitting at home today saying, what should I be doing at home today to make sure that I'm prepared for tomorrow? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, great point. So I think if you go out to the supermarkets, you're going to find that the shelves are really bare. We've heard that already today. So I think the important thing is to make sure, consider the power loss issue. So with that being said, if you have an extra cell phone charger that you can charge up, because everyone really counts on their cell phone, we really receive 85% of the 911 calls come over a cell phone. So any mechanism that you have to have an extra charge for your cell phone, make sure your batteries, make sure your flashlights have batteries. And again, I mentioned it before, but I can't stress the importance of ensuring that those heating devices with blowing and drifting snow, that be a very high priority to make sure that those are clear. Because a lot of them now don't go through the roof. A lot of them come directly through the side of a home. So critically important to not become a statistic. As we all know, carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and tasteless, so you don't even know it. And again, we'll want to make sure that folks are really taking that and considering moving it, making sure that nothing is blocking those vents.
For Rick or the mayor, would there be consideration of opening a school for some folks who are in compromised situations?
Yeah, I'll answer that. We are ready to go. We have our shelter, which is the Career Regional High School over on Legion Avenue, ready to go. We have to be prepared for the potential of down trees on power lines. We work very closely with the UI. We've talked as early as most as recent as this morning to ensure that all of our elderly housing, those are priorities. So those are vulnerable populations. If we lose power to those, difficult for people to get out, as well as firefighters to get in, God forbid, in any type of a medical. As you know, we always say don't get in the elevator, but if we do have a medical call in some of our buildings, we have to use elevators. It's the only way to get the amount of equipment and get the person back down. So again, critical to have power. It's really one of our most important things. So we're on that, Tony.
A clarification on the citywide parking ban, so just to make sure I have it right. So starting at 10 p.m., you can't park on any street in New Haven. Not on the outside, just no, you can't park on any city street.
Only on the even side, and but otherwise.
Yeah,
Or you can park on the even side.
I mean, everyone would have to park in Brantford if you couldn't park on any street in New Haven, right? So this is what we have done in the past. The only difference is that people are, because we're getting used to the winter season again, right? The last storm that we had was not a citywide parking ban, it was just downtown and the major arteries. This is a citywide parking ban, which means that in downtown you cannot park, correct me if I'm wrong, on any side of the street. On the major posted snow routes, you cannot park on either side of the street. Everywhere else, you have to park on the side of the street with the odd address. Or you cannot park on the side of the street with the odd address. Don't be the odd person out. So don't park on the odd side. Look at the addresses and don't park on the odd side. Is that clear? Yes. And I just want to be clear about the places that people can park if they don't have a driveway. So the three categories are Yale is opening some lots as they typically do. That's one. The public schools have 14 schools where people can park. If people park in those locations, there are signs that tell people where during a snow emergency they can park. Please only park in those locations, because if you park in the other locations, it's much more difficult for public school. The contractors come in and clear the lot. So please park, if it's a public school that you choose to park in to get off the street, in the places where there are signs. And then the third is parking garages. There's specific parking garages. People will be charged a reduced rate of $3 a day if they choose to park in those sites. Don't be the odd person out. Do not park on the odd side of the street, the side of the street with odd addresses. Is that good? Okay, thank you. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.